Welcome to the C-Suite Mentor, the place where you will learn the tools, strategies, and mindset to scale your business sustainably and build a lasting legacy. I'm your host, Theresa Cantley. As a fellow CEO, I understand what it takes to scale a business to 7 and multiple 8 figures. It's not necessarily what you might think. It requires a complete shift in how you think, strategize, and execute key actions in your business. My mission is to help CEOs step back into the driver's seat of their business by optimizing their operations, empowering their team, and staying in total alignment with their big vision. So, are you ready to exchange everything that hasn't worked for strategies that will? You're in the right place, so let's go. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the C-Suite Mentor podcast. I am your host, Theresa Cantley, and it's been a little bit. I think I've had guests on the past several times. So now you're with me back to a solo episode. And I wanted to take time today to talk about the part of navigating big challenges that you don't hear a lot about. And I know in the world today, I know I am experiencing it myself, whether it is in my consulting business and my coaching business or in the other businesses, the brick and mortar businesses that I run, on the challenges that all of the external world has brought in. And whether it's, we do a lot of importing from Europe and from Great Britain, and just trying to navigate all of the changes in the tariffs and, working with vendors. And it's like, you kind of have to wait until we figure out what the tariff rate's going to be until we decide, like, okay, how are we going to navigate getting this stuff over here? And what does that look like? And it's challenging. And clients that I have talked to because I work with people all over the world, who are running into the same issue where it's like, okay, I have to get product from Europe over to the States or Malaysia over to the States. And it's like just trying to work around all of the changes that are happening with importation, with tariffs and with importation, and with just even freight. Shipping charges are like crazy astronomical. And then you layer in the challenges that you have with costs rising, whether it's food cost or product cost, or even changes with insurance, the increases in insurance costs and just the changes that are happening. We just went through an insurance renewal for commercial insurance, and just all of the changes that are happening in present time. Then we layer on top of that all of the changes and the rapid rate of these changes with technology and the economy and business itself and just the world. It's so fast. And then you layer in the whole people part of it. You layer in all of the challenges that we have to deal with on a regular basis with team. I know I've run into it a lot with trying to navigate changes in management and leadership, and trying and navigating challenges that we run into with staffing issues, and building that strong team, a team that really cares about growth, and a team that really, wants to come together and work together, and really making sure that that culture of a healthy environment just continues. There's all of these things wrapped into one that are challenging for business owners, that are challenging for, CEOs, that are challenging for people in general. And the part that we don't talk about, or that doesn't get talked about enough, is how we deal with it internally. And when I mean internally, I mean with how we think about these challenges, how we think about all of these changes that are happening, and how we process it. So when we think about it, our mindset around these challenges, and really our mindset about ourself and how we fit into, or how we navigate these different things that are happening. Because some of this stuff, business owners that I talk to business owners probably every day, between coaching and people who I'm connected to in my community, or people I work with every day. It takes a toll. It takes a toll. I read an article this morning, I think it was in Fast Company, and they talked about how 77% of employees have dealt with mental health issues. And it's surrounding by just, I mean, every time you turn around, something's happening in the news. And it's like trying to keep up with it. It can be very daunting and it can be very frustrating. And in some ways, it can be very depressing. So, the one thing that I tell people, because again, we don't talk about that mindset enough when you're trying to navigate all of these challenges. And I talk a lot about how leaders aren't necessarily going to have all of the answers all of the time. And that's okay. But when we don't have the answers and you're not really sure, there's so much uncertainty and you're not really sure, and people are looking for certainty, it can really do a number on how you think about things, how you're processing the information, but then also how you think about yourself. And that's when that self doubt creeps in. And that feeling of whether it's feeling deflated, feeling like I can't do this, feeling like I can't figure this out, feeling like I don't belong. I mean, all of those things come up. And I think as we just don't talk about it enough. We talk about it that, especially from a leadership perspective, that leaders are supposed to have all the answers. And that even if you don't have all the answers, I hear it a lot where leaders just make stuff up and then they demand, and it's almost like they use their power to from a negative standpoint. And so I wanted to talk about this today and I wanted to give you a framework that it's funny because when I was doing my notes about this, it was something that I always think about or I thought about recently, and I never really put it into a framework. And when I was writing my notes out, literally, I saw that it actually spelled a word. So this is the first time you're going to be hearing it. This is kind of off the cuff, but I'll tell you what, it really works. So I think the first thing when we're navigating a lot of these big challenges and we're looking at ourselves and we can kind of start to see how it's impacting us. You know, we talk a lot about how you need to have a vision and your vision is going to carry you forward and your vision is going to, move you through during the challenging times. And the truth is that sometimes, especially right now, vision is great and we need to have that vision. But sometimes we actually need to take a beat. We need to take a beat. We need to slow down and we need to refocus what we're doing, refocus what we're thinking about, refocus what we're focusing on in general. Because if you are navigating a lot of turmoil, we're navigating a lot of ups and downs and just trying to figure out and trying to hold the pieces together, a lot of times we start to see things not in the best way. Our perspective on stuff starts to get very distorted. So this framework that I'm going to give you is going to help you to shift your perspective and kind of slow down a bit so that you can speed back up. And many times over, and I can say this for myself, I didn't want, when I was navigating challenges, especially as it related to my mindset, and my mindset I was struggling with because I was having all of these huge peaks and valleys and things that were happening in my business. And I didn't want to slow down because slowing down to me either meant I was failing or slowing down meant that the reality of the situation really became apparent and then I had to deal with it. So I was constantly in perpetual motion, just constantly saying, I need to move, I need to work, I need to get this figured out. And that's where your perspective starts to suffer. And you can't see past this challenge that's happening, this circumstance that's happening. So this framework that I'm going to give you, first and foremost, what it's going to help you to do is it's going to help you to start shifting your perspective and challenging yourself to look at things differently. I had a conversation with a client of mine this morning, and we were talking about some challenges that she had been going through. And as she was moving through these challenges over the past month or couple months, we started to see a pattern where challenging herself to start looking at things differently was actually giving her, and this is just how it works, giving her different results. So instead of getting the same result and feeling like this is never going to work, we challenged her, or I challenged her to start looking at things differently and saying, okay, I would have handled this staff situation this way, but because this new set of circumstances or this new set of information is here now, I'm actually going to stop and look at this and take this new piece of information that I have related to this staff situation so that I can assess it differently and handle the situation differently. And when she started to do that, she was getting different results and things were starting to shift. And what I said to her was, because oftentimes stuff happens and we have a breakdown, especially if you are an emotional person like yours truly. We have a breakdown, and then we have a choice. We have a choice to either stay in that breakdown, or we have a choice to go towards a breakthrough. We have a choice to start thinking, to try and think about things, or look at, not even think, but look at things differently. And as I said to her, it's a matter of getting out of your head and getting back into your heart and asking your heart, what is it that I need to do next? Not your head. Your head will follow. Your thinking will follow. Your mindset will follow. But if we get back into asking our heart, what is the next best step in this situation to handle whatever it is that's coming at you, we're going to be able to look at it differently. Why? Because we get out of our head, right? So often when we're in our head, stories come in, old stories, old beliefs, trapped beliefs, and our thinking just gets all wonky for lack of a better word. So what we want to do is, and this is what I said to her this morning, was what helps us to start shifting our perspective and challenging us to think differently is when that breakdown happens, we start to separate ourselves from the situation, we start to separate it out and get back into our heart, asking ourselves better questions so that we can get to the solution, or we can get to a better perspective on what's happening. And what I said to her was, when we're able to do that, and it takes a lot of growth to be able to do that, but when we're able to get to the place where the breakdown happens and then we get to that breakthrough, that space in between is grace. That's when we're able to, again, it's that middle ground. It's that grace. It's that growth moment that allows us to get to that next level and that breakthrough and the answers that we really need so that we can continue to move forward. And most people don't want to have that beat and realize what's happening, because we're always going to have that, for lack of a better word, we're always going to have that struggle or that war in our mind, choosing better thoughts, asking better questions so that we can walk a better path. That's always going to be happening. But it's our choice that when that's happening, that we can take a beat, we can stop, and we can make better decisions. We can make better choices. And that is how we're able to think differently about a situation. Like I said, that space between breakdown and breakthrough is where we find grace. So that's the first piece of it, is learning to sit in that grace. And that grace allows us to say, I'm going through this struggle, but I'm not going to let it hold me down. What do I need to do next? Tapping into something outside of ourselves, whether it's God, source, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in. allowing that surrender and that trust in something higher than ourselves to guide us towards that breakthrough. And when we're able to recognize that life is about meeting and solving problems, no matter what it is, it's how we choose to solve those problems, and realizing that those struggles never go away. Those challenges never go away. And the more you grow, the more your business grows, the struggles grow. But what also grows is our ability to bounce back from them. That bounce back rate from that initial breakdown or that challenge, and how we're perceiving it, and how quickly we can get up and get moving again. And the way that we have that shorter time, that bounce back rate, that shorter amount of time, is our ability to let grace in, our ability to learn those lessons. So the second piece of this is where is your role and responsibility in this challenge? Maybe this challenge that's happening, maybe you're not the one that's supposed to be solving this problem. Maybe there's somebody else that can help you solve it. So if it's a financial situation, maybe it's an accountant, or that your accountant that can help you, or a financial planner that can help you, or someone else. Maybe it's not you that can necessarily solve this issue, and you're not in this by yourself. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe in a situation, one of the businesses that I run, it's a restaurant, one of the managers there, the GM, actually, he thinks he needs to solve everybody's problem and be responsible for all of the issues. And the truth is that when we allow other people who really should be empowered to solve these problems, it takes that pressure off of us and enables us to actually then step more into a mentor or a guide, and guide the person through who should actually be solving the problem anyway. So, for example, we had some problems in the back of the house, the kitchen, and he thought he needed to handle all of the issues that were happening in the kitchen, instead of allowing and empowering the executive chef, who's really responsible for it, to handle those situations. Because his mindset told him, these struggles are happening, I feel personally responsible for them. And here's the thing. We are not responsible for everyone's breakdowns. We are not responsible for everyone's, mess that they have going on. The only thing we're responsible is how we look at it, or the actions that we take next, but we're not responsible for it. So when we're able to elevate ourselves from the situation and be able to look at it from a clearer perspective, we're able to see what is our role in this, what is our responsibility in this solving of the problem or getting through this challenge, and what is someone else's responsibility. Because so often, especially when you are a giver, when you are a leader, you want to take on the responsibility. And the truth of the matter is, it's not all yours to take on. You're not responsible for everyone's breakdowns, right? So what we want to do is, when we're able to kind of assess what's going on, we're also able to navigate it a heck of a lot better, right? And the third thing is to really get to the point where you're not dealing with problems the same way over and over and over again. We're able to look at a problem, and if the way that we handled it before, like staffing situations, if you have a process set up with how you deal with reprimanding, staff when they're doing things wrong, or how you deal with certain situations, if something isn't working, you don't want to continue that pattern, right? So you want to be able to look at it and say, okay, what do I need to shift and course correct in order to get a better result, or in order to get a result that actually will then integrate into how the business works, how the business functions, and how people interact with each other. So we want to be able to do this because, again, we want to be able to get to that space in between a breakdown and a breakthrough and realize that grace. Because when we can see that grace, we can see the path that is meant for us. We can see the path that we actually need to walk. And it only comes from stopping. It comes from pausing for a minute. So the way that I look at this, and like I said, I have navigated a lot of challenges in my own business and in the businesses that I run, being brick and mortar businesses, in two very challenging industries. And, whether it is, we've had a lot of, over the past 3 years in the brick and mortar businesses, we've had a lot of management changes. People leaving, toxic leaders leaving, having to repair the culture, not knowing like how pervasive the toxicity was in the culture, but then having to repair it after that person left, having management just quit, having to let go and part ways with leaders in the business, having team issues, just having people that come in to the business and they don't really care. And really looking at that and saying, what can leadership do different? What can we do different? Like, what do we need to change in this culture? And how can we get and make sure that everybody is on board and everybody has those processes they're really integrating with people. So it's not that we continue to have these breakdowns. And it's a lot. And it does start to impact your thinking, navigating all of these tariff changes. It starts to impact your thinking. And believe me, I am not immune to this. And at times I've thought to myself, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can handle this. I'm really struggling here. But the difference is that me now versus me 15 years ago is that I have more of an ability to look at it and say, okay, this is the situation that's happening here, and pause so that I can take the right next steps instead of just rushing in and reacting to a situation. And the way that I look at this is we want to sack the challenge, SACK, just as in sack the quarterback, right? So we want to sack the challenge. So what this looks like is the first step is what I said, to be able to shift our perspective. We need to, when a challenge is happening, when a breakdown happens, when somebody on your team leaves, or a program doesn't work, or a campaign doesn't work, whatever it is, we need to stop. We need to take a beat, take a pause. Yes, we want the vision because that's our GPS, but sometimes it's not enough, and we need to pause for a moment. So we need to stop, because a lot of times, people are in a hole, and instead of stopping and stepping up out of the hole, they want to keep digging. So instead of continuously digging that hole of challenge, we want to stop. And then the next step is assess what's happening. This is the part where we're able to see, what is my role and responsibility in this? Or what is my role and responsibility in trying to figure this out? Where can I get resources? Where can I get help? But then also, what's really happening here? What's really happening in this situation? So when we pause and take a beat, we're able to look at the entire situation and see it clearer. See it and say, okay, get all the pieces together. And then the next step is, now we're going to make some course correction and make some changes. Change direction, course correct, get the right people involved, whatever it is, and get back aligned with the vision and the direction that we're moving, which is what my client said in dealing with a lot of these really hard challenges that she's had to get through, she found that grace, that growth. And that growth is that realization that I can do this. I can get through this because something beyond me is helping me to find the right way, helping me to find the right path. And then the last thing, the K, is to keep going, keep moving. And this is where we have that radical resilience and that sixth gear that allows us to keep going and keep moving forward. With all of the things we had a fire last year at one of the businesses. We had a flood. Like I said, we had a lot of key people leave. There's just been a lot of like ups and downs, even in my own business with team changes and changes with content and changes with my coaching. And it's just a lot of up and down. But it's that sixth gear that kicks in that helps us to navigate those big challenges and helps us to really find that space in between, that grace, where we can start to hear and see and feel that breakthrough that we're looking for, that solution that we're looking for, that better result that we're looking for. So I hope that this helped you. And if you are looking, if you're saying to yourself, wow, I need to do some things differently in my business, and I'm not really sure next steps to take, or I'm not really sure what I need to do, book a virtual coffee. Let's jump on a call and talk about next steps. And if you want to take it one step further, I do have a new thing that I'm doing for business owners. It's called my C-Suite Snapshot. And my C-Suite Snapshot is all about helping you to uncover your blind spots. And then also saying, okay, here's what keeps breaking down and why. And then here's what you can start to do differently. And then here's your plan for your next steps over the next 60 to 90 days. So if you're looking for something even more in-depth and really are like, I need a plan, I need to know what to do next, then we will put a link in the show notes. Go ahead and join me for the C-Suite Snapshot. And again, you will get a full plan as to what you can do if you are one of those people that is like, I'm not really sure what to do next. We've had so many things come at us. And even as a CEO, like, I'm not even sure how to implement this stuff. Let's jump on a call and let's do this together. So until next week, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember to look for the space in between, because that is where you're going to find grace. All right. Have a good rest of your week. Hey there. Thank you so much for listening. If you found value on this show, please follow the podcast so you never, ever miss an episode. And I would love, love, love if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify for me. Even better, share the show with a fellow business owner ready to step fully into their CEO leadership role. Because right now, more than ever, the world really needs next level leaders. And by the way, did you know you can text me all your questions and get real-time feedback? You absolutely can. Just text the word CEO to me at 610-215-2838 to get connected. One last goodie for you before I go. If you're ready to scale your business and have a co-creator working right by your side, my C-Suite Mentor Program may be perfect for you and your possible new second in command. Just visit thecsuitementor.com to get started.